Hi, this is Paula Glory, and this show is called Farther Down the Rabbit Hole. And today we're going to take an excursion down an amazing rabbit hole, which is the elevator in the building where I live in Gramercy Park. And it's being repaired today, and we have an opportunity to be with an expert. So what's your name?
My name's Al Milo from Dunwell Elevator Company.
And how long have you been doing this?
I've been in the elevator industry for 35 years.
Now, how old is this?
This elevator is probably early 1900s, as old as the building.
As old as the building.
Obviously, this building's probably 100 years old, so this elevator is 100 years old.
Now, do you think when it was first put in, these were kind of luxuries?
This was state of the art. First of all, any elevator was a luxury.
Really?
As time evolved, people were walking up steps. Now they were able to get into an elevator ride automatically and go upstairs.
Really? So that was a real selling point if you were going to buy
a building?
Yeah, a building.
Anything over 6 stories is required to have an elevator. Now with the handicap rule today, anything over 2 stories needs a handicapped elevator.
Oh, I see.
So this is a basement drum, 90 years old.
Who made it? Where was the...
ABC is the manufacturer. Not ABC as in the movie company, but ABSEE.
Oh, I see.
And they're at a business at least 70 years by now.
Really?
This is a basement drum elevator, which are illegal to put in today.
Now, you learned 35 years ago, so this was old when you learned. So,
Yeah, I was young then.
Did you learn from people who were maybe familiar with the manufacturers, or real masters? Artisanship is being lost today.
Well, when I first started years ago, ABC was still in business. And those guys that taught me how to do the work on these machines. Right now, we're going to rebabbit this machine.
You're going to do what?
Rebabbit the bearings. These are babbited bearings, which is...
And that's what he's taking off here?
Well, babbited bearing is what he's standing on. He's going to rebabbit the wearing gear shaft bearing.
And now, what's that mean?
Well, babbit is a substance that is used to make sinkers when you go fishing. If you heat it up, it turns to a liquid. And today the bearings are all ball bearings. So years ago, before the invention of ball bearings, they had to make babbited bearings, which means you made a mold, you heated up this babbit, and you poured it around the shaft, and you put oil grooves in the babbit to lubricate the shaft, and that was a babbited bearing.
Wow.
So for me to redo this bearing, I'm going to have to go back to the old school way of taking it, chopping it out, making a mold around the shaft, heating the babbit to a certain degree to a liquid. Then I'll pour it, cool it, remove the shaft, cut oil channels in, and we put the machine back together. That takes the play out of the shaft way in the wearing gear.
Now, how many people can do this in this day and age?
Well, it's a dying art. I mean, I've done it. Richard's been in the business a long time. I've came down just to check because I had difference of opinion on the way we should do this job.
Oh, a master.
So we were just kind of rehashing it. We decided the easiest way to do it. We were trying to take apart the least amount of work to do this bearing because it's very labor intensified, this whole job. So we took off the machine limit, loosened up the shaft, the deflector shivs, and we're going to pull it up with chain falls, and then we're going to take this, chop out this old babbit bearing, make a mold, pour a new babbit bearing.
And that's what you'll do back in your laboratory?
No, we're going to do it right here.
You're going to make the babbit here?
Yeah, we're going to put it in a pot, heat it up, and do it right here.
When are you going to do that?
Probably tomorrow morning.
Okay, well, what time? I'll be down here for that.
Probably about 9 o'clock, 9:30.
Oh, great.
The new bearings are all ball bearings. This is going to be a lost art. Probably Joshua, when he goes to teach an apprentice, he's going to talk about what he used to do, but probably when he's a mechanic and he's ready to teach an apprentice, there'll be no more rebabbiting going on.
Wow.
I don't believe that. I think all these machines eventually will be replaced in the city.
Don't you think that this economy needs to have more people that are skilled?
Well, the apprenticeship program is good. I mean, they have a nice, strong apprenticeship program. You have to take a test to get into the elevator industry. And you have to be a high school graduate at minimum. And then there's an apprenticeship program where you go out with a mechanic that teaches you how to fix elevators. It's a great field.
It's a great field.
It's very satisfying to go out.
That's what makes New York what it is, right? We could go up all of a sudden.
We're the backbone of every building. Nobody appreciates the elevator until it's not running.
And then they're yelling and screaming, right?
It's the same as hot water too, I guess, right?
And they think conspiracies, like they're going, how come the front elevator is not out as much as the back elevator? My board is not on my side.
We're looking to save the building money because the right way would be to replace this machine. But it.
Oh, you need to totally replace it?
To replace it completely, to change it into a traction
I
machine.
don't think I'm going to fall down when I take the elevator.
No, this elevator is safe.
A-B-C-A-B-S-E-E. And where was this actually cast?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know where ABC
Was
is
the company
located.
in New Jersey or in Dayton, Ohio? That's where National Cash Register was.
You probably can go on a website and they probably give you the history of ABC elevator.
Yeah, well, that'd be interesting. Well, I'll put this show on and we'll see what kind of people respond.
And the reason they discontinued this elevator is because when the cable is rewind on the drum, at the top of the elevator they twist ever so slightly to where they attach to the elevator. So every couple of years you have to cut the end of the cable off and you have to make a new connection on top of the car.
Oh, wow.
So they figured there's a liability of the cable eventually snapping if nobody does it every 2 years. So they eliminated those machines.
Oh, that's nice. They try to...
They stretch.
Well, they do is they twist. When they wind around the drum, the cables twist ever so little. Now at the shackle where it attaches to the crosshead is where it's going to break. So by law and by New York City code, you have to land the weights and you have to cut the cable off and make a new rosette. Now, there's been instances in the city where the elevators have fell because nobody ever caught it in time and did those resets.
Really? Like
So
how many years would go by before that would happen? Because I saw these.
It all depends on how
really
you use the elevators. If you use the elevators a lot, there's going to be more twisting because the car's going to constantly be going up and down, up and down, up and down.
Right.
I mean, 2 years is well within reason to change the rosette to make it safe. So what they did is they redesigned the elevators and made it a traction. So when you put cables on, you never have to reshackle. So you never ever have to worry about a cable breaking. Probably one of these cables can handle 16 tons.
Really?
Yeah, the cables are way. This elevator can run one cable. There's two, and there's 4 to 6 on a traction machine. So they're very safe.
So I don't have to call my party list for fat and thin people, have it right mix.
And of all means of transportation, elevators are the safest.
Yeah, I've never felt nervous when I got in them.
And they carry more people than any other means of transportation.
Really? Like subways and airplanes and buses and cars?
You take all the subways into New York City, all of those people are getting on elevators to go to work.
Right. Right.
So the amount of traffic that they have is the amount of traffic we have. We have the lowest rate of injury.
Sometimes for osteoporosis, they say it's good for exercise, you know, to walk up and not use the elevator. You wouldn't do it.
I walk all the time.
But then people pay a lot of money to go to a gym in order to walk up steps, right? Isn't that kind of funny?
I tell you, I have great wind and I'm in great shape because I walk all the time.
Yeah, I know. New Yorkers usually are. Look at how heavy that piece is.
That's pretty heavy.
Is this
piece
whole
of
crew
cast
going to be
iron.
here tomorrow?
They're going to do everything tomorrow. They're going to finish taking this machine apart. They're going to loosen the other side. They're going to jack up this shiv and drum. They're going to chop out this babbited bearing in here. They're going to make a new mold of this babbited bearing. And then they're going to put it together. Then you see this bearing on the floor? This is the top bearing. They're going to take this bearing.
That's the top of the mold?
This is the top bearing. You're going to chop this cabbage piece of bearing out. You're going to put it on top of that shaft. You're going to put a mold on each side. You're going to pour it through these holes. And you're going to remake a new bearing. Then they're going to take it off. You're going to channel an oil hole in here to grease the oil shaft. With a hole on the other side where you put a grease fitting in to spread oil into the bearing.
Wow.
Then we're done.
Now, what would happen if this isn't done?
Just playing the machine.
Oh, playing them, and it's not
There's a worming gear inside this elevator. There's a corkscrew type worm that has a gear that sits on top of it. As this bearing wears, the drum separates, so the gear gets further and further from the worm, and then it's machine play, where the gear actually rocks in the worm. It fits like a V. So when it fits like a V and then it starts to separate, there's more play. So you have to set it back down and pour the bearing so you take the play out of the gear. And then you take the play out of the machine.
When was the last time this was done?
When do you think is the last time this was done? 20 years ago?
I've been more.
I've been in this
How much
building for
time?
15 years. And I bet you
servicing
it's
it?
been here, I've been in this building at least 10 to 15 years. So I bet you this bearing wasn't done 10 years before I got here. I bet you it's been 25, 30 years since this bearing was done. Yeah.
Look at those numbers there. It's probably like registered, huh?
Yeah, I'm sure the registered everything.
I wonder if this will ever wind up in an antique shop.
Well, there's an elevator antique. There's an elevator museum.
Really?
A lot.
Where is it?
Oh, it's in Illinois.
Elevatorworld.com.
Elevatorworld.com would tell us? Oh, gosh. Well, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
joining me on the show, and I'll come down at 9 o'clock tomorrow and watch him pour the bearing.
Richie will teach you and show you everything you gotta know.
Great, thank you.
He's the best.
Thanks. Here I am going up the steps because there's no elevator. This is the second floor only. You can hear all that elevator noise, and I'll be down there at 9 o'clock tomorrow, down the rabbit hole. Good morning. You're getting ready to do the melting part?
Excuse me?
You're getting ready to do the melting part? Oh, I thought you said at 9 o'clock you were going to make the new bearing. are in the Gramercy Park area. I'm on the top of the building where I live. And all of you know what that is because I advertise it all the time. It's 26 Gramercy Park South. Now, what I'm showing here is the park. And what I'm saying is Gramercy Park had a radical mastectomy. In other words, all the trees have been chopped down. Now, why were all the trees chopped down? Darn, it's cold. I have my theories about why this happened, but I'm too cold to explain it now. I'll just collect the footage. See, this is sort of a nice old-fashioned neighborhood. You know, interesting details. So let's see if I can do a Frank Craven here. Hi, this is Paula Gloria, and this show is called Farther Down the Rabbit Hole. What you see behind me is Gramercy Park, and the topic of the show today is Gramercy Park had a radical mastectomy. Now, what do I mean by Gramercy Park had a radical mastectomy? I have my theories about what happened to the park and why these trees that were really, really old were deemed by some I don't know what you call a tree doctor, an arborist, or a doctor of arborology, whatever it was. He had the qualifications, he had the degree, and he had the clout. So whatever he would say would hold up in a court of law. So there's been a lot of lawsuits in Gramercy Park going on back and forth. Some people say the park should be closed, some people say it should be open. The National Arts Club seems to take the side of the liberals. The trustees of the park, of course, want to keep it closed, feeling that if something's private, people take care of it better. But what I'm claiming is that in this day and age, there's been so much fighting, so much litigation, that in the end, nature suffers, or at least nature never suffers. Nature always goes on, but the nature that we enjoy, the shade of beautiful trees, the beauty of nice, well-kept gardens, as opposed to people just stampeding through it, and homeless people sleeping on the benches. Now, when I say homeless people sleeping on the benches, what I mean is parks are absorbing, nature absorbs a lot of the inadequacies that human beings have when we can't take care of each other. People shouldn't be homeless. You shouldn't drive people out of their homes. And if they live in Manhattan, they have a right to be able to have housing in Manhattan. So I'm not making, you know, kind of a caste slur here when I talk about keeping a park up. But what I am saying is when I talk about Gramercy Park had a radical mastectomy, the implications of all of this litigation and fighting is that you can have some experts say these trees are sick, they have a disease. Once that's on the record, if anybody walks through the park and a branch falls on them, they can claim, I don't know, whiplash or whatever it is, and start suing for untold amounts of money. So Arlene Harrison, I think, was one of the trustees that made the decision after these trees were sick to cut them down. And I think she was acting with foresight given the political and legal situation, which is so corrupt today. So when she had the trees cut down, she was just trying to save a park that she loved very, very much. Of course, this is totally my theory, having been through about 3 or 4 lawsuits myself when I was involved in the cellular telephone lotteries, and I saw what people would do for money. But what makes me so sad here is that trees that probably didn't have to be cut down were cut down. And now, this isn't about trees. Now I'm going to go over into the wider scope of things, which is human beings and our relationship to nature. Part of the beauty of the Renaissance was that in the Renaissance, people said they didn't want to hear from a church priest about whether they deserved a healing or not, or if they got healed, it was because they really believed in Jesus, and if they didn't get healed, it's because they didn't. It was more, people were just observing nature, and the human body was looked upon as a function of nature that behaved with natural principles. So the scientists became observers of nature. So what I'm saying here, Gramercy Park had a radical mastectomy. What I'm meaning by that is, if this happens with a park, it's so cold outside right now that my throat's getting a little sore. If this would happen with the park, it most assuredly happens with our own bodies. And I have my own little drama with a mammogram and a biopsy that very well-meaning doctors that were educated in a certain way really believed I needed. But upon further investigation, I believed I didn't. It's too bad that we didn't have this ability to pull together with Gramercy Park and save these trees. Because, I mean, you know, trees have been on the planet for, you know, how many hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of years, and they have a nice cycle. You know, maybe they do get old and they fall over, but there's a graceful way to do it. You don't hack away all the trees. And old growth is always something to be valued. Just like the elderly in our community, these people are so rich with experience. And so when we cut our trees down, when we turn our elderly out, when we, you know, create nuclear families that can't handle the older, then the older don't give their wisdom to the younger. So anyway, this is Paula Gloria with Farther Down the Rabbit Hole, just sharing with you a few ideas that I've observed about nature. And I'm very sad that we lost these older trees, because I know that these older trees that we no longer see here in this shot because they were cut down had huge, huge stories in them. This is a wonderful historical area. But hopefully we still have public access television and we can learn from this experience and move together. Again, this litigation story is totally something that I'm only speculating on from my experience with litigation.